So I take Barbie very personally. I was a big Barbie fan at one time. So let me just explain where I'm coming from, so you can better understand my commentary. And I'd be curious to hear where you're coming from on Barbie as well, because if there's one thing people have about Barbie, it's strong opinions. And in fact, that largely is what's killed the brand today. We'll see what it does for the movie. All right, so I absolutely adored Greta Gerwig's Little Women. I'd never liked the Little Women story before, but when Greta Gerwig told it, I was captivated. It's become one of my Christmas movies. An amazing story about women being people and how that sometimes comes at a tremendous cost, especially when you take into account the stereotypes of society which create expectations not only of women, but that women have of their own lives. And sometimes those are positive expectations, but that creates a lot of personal turmoil when it runs up against reality. There has long been talk about women wanting it all, and the holy grail, so to speak, for women, and whether or not that's even possible. Speaking of, being reasonable, Barbie came under attack from adult women for being unrealistic and setting unrealistic expectations for maybe themselves, maybe their children, but there was a whole lot of hullabaloo. And the brand adapted and never really recovered. It tried to be more realistic, but it turns out the kids wanted the fantasy. Also, Mattel, in my opinion, dumbed the brand down, which was also uncool. It didn't, I think it had become somewhat educational, and it kind of led the conversation for a while, and then it stopped doing that. So, I think that's a shame what happened to Barbie. But also, I think the argument has been boiled down to extremes, which is even personified in this trailer. Why does it have to be the high heel or the, what is that, a Birkenstock, right? What about a fashion sneaker? Why can't you have an option in the middle? There are a whole lot of shoes, as Barbie would know. I don't want to see anybody tear Barbie down, and I worry that this film might do that. I think you can adjust Barbie. I think you can pull Barbie into modern times, but I get nervous about, I missed them saying if you love Barbie, but I think I was so shocked that they said if you hate Barbie, and they cut to those teenage girls being so disparaging and mean to Barbie. Which just kind of shows you to some degree how times have changed, right? As to who the mean girls are and who the unpopular girl is. But, aren't we, I think the whole point is we're not supposed to judge anybody, right? So I just, I have complex feelings about it. Also, I'm an optimistic person, and I don't want to watch a Barbie movie and think about mortality. I don't care how great the message is. Is Barbie going to be a more depressing movie than Oppenheimer? That's concerning to me. But let's put all those worries aside. I just wanted to explain them to you. And I'm just going to have faith that Greta Gerwig will end up doing as fantastic a job here as she did with Little Women. All right, so let's break it down. So I think this shot must have tested really well, because they opened it again with the same shot, this as well. But then I love this little detail where she floats down, because, that's of course how Barbie has to get around in her dream house, because, they have like one little set of stairs, kind of. No, she has a slide on this one. But this has always been a pet peeve of mine with dollhouses of all different varieties. But I'm like, where are the stairs? Sometimes Barbie had an elevator, but I think that was a really cute little idea. Very clever. And there are some other things like that we'll point out here. So, by the way, the delivery of her here is so Anne Hathaway. Not only does she talk like Anne Hathaway, but deliver her dialogue like Anne Hathaway, and she kind of has the physicality of Anne Hathaway, the hair of Anne Hathaway, and Anne Hathaway at one point was going to play this role. So that to me was very surprising. So she's inviting Ken over, and I think this was really also very clever, where she says, she doesn't have anything too big planned, just a big dance, highly choreographed dance party with all the Barbies. And I think that, of course, alludes to, child play, which I think is great. Of course, you have a great dance party planned for the evening. So I thought that was a cute idea. And they really do seem more like brother and sister, which is an interesting choice. Margot Robbie explained that the reason that Barbie has no desires for Ken or anyone is because she doesn't have reproductive organs. So, you know, so the idea of hotness and sexy time is projected onto Barbie because it's not something that she thinks about. But I don't know. I mean, then why is she making any fashion choices? I guess she didn't actually buy those clothes; they just materialized. But I don't know. I think once you open the door to that kind of complex thinking, how does it not trickle down to the rest? I mean, Barbie and Ken are supposed to be boyfriend and girlfriend. Why isn't that not just like just something that's like a truth in Barbie land? All right. So she's got her party. Here it is. And they, of course, released the soundtrack today. And the Kens are participating. Now this is an actress who I became familiar with in Mrs. Maisel, where she did a tremendous job. This is trans actress Harry Neff. And Greta Gerwig has worked very hard to have different types of Barbies and Kens. And this is one of them, Harry Neff. I wanted to point her out because her star is on the rise. So she's like, every day is going to be great. Every day, today and tomorrow will never not be great. And then she says, do any of you ever think about mortality? And, you know, not only does that stop the party, but I think it kind of stops the trailer. And I would argue not necessarily in a good way. I mean, you might think, oh, well, it really, makes the audience pay attention and realize this is going to be a different kind of Barbie movie. But again, I don't really know if anybody wants that kind of Barbie movie. We'll see. So everybody, obviously the answer is no. Or I would prefer not to, so thanks for ruining the party. Alexandra Shipp looks phenomenal. So yeah, it was pretty bad. So I don't know anyone's going to come to the next Barbie party, but she tells everybody that things are weird, which is actually, from what I've heard, the premise of the movie. Look at the wall of bees behind her. That's fantastic. I love Barbie's interior designer. I love a modern 60s bent on design. So she said she's having a rough time, and I do love, because she says, this morning I had a cold shower. But as I think, as many of us noticed on watching the trailer a couple of times, there's no water, because of course it's a Barbie house. And so I think that's cute. So it's all in her mind, so why is she imagining cold water? So I thought that was funny. And she fell off her house, oh my goodness, and her feet are flat, right? And all the Barbies are shocked. And you can, again, I think that, some of you, I've seen some comments saying, is this really, are these representative of Barbies? And if you actually look at Barbie today, because the brand, and this I think was a good part of the brand did very much change to represent more different types of women. And so this actually is very reflective of Barbie today. And as I said, I thought that was one of the positive changes that they did make. And that's Harry Neff again there. But I like that's funny. That's actually Emma Mackey. And I wonder if they dyed her hair dark brown to distinguish her from Margot Robbie. But it works. And she touches the flat foot, and they're all grossed out. And so she's going, you can see, I think this is interesting. She's having a hard time walking up the stairs because she's had to jam her flat feet into high heel shoes. Just walk around, barefoot, Barbie. That's cool. It's a beach look. So this house reminds me of Edna Mode, which I think is hilarious. Now this is where Kate McKinnon's Barbie lives, who is a Barbie who has been set free. She is the Barbie that, a child really went to town with, and didn't follow the Barbie rules. But I think that's interesting. She's still allowed to live in Barbie Town or Barbie Land. You can see she has her own version of a world map there. It's pretty close. All right, so here's Worldview Barbie. And she says, you have to go to the real world. And she says, these are your two choices you have to pick. And again, I don't love that it's the two extremes. And Barbie picks the high heel. And Kate McKinnon has great delivery. And she's like, it's so Edna Mode. She's like, you got to at least be curious. So Barbie's like, okay, I'll check it out, particularly because she's having these difficulties. And Ken, trying real hard to make this relationship work, decides to come along too. And I love this. This is very Wes Anderson with the different tableaus of their trip. And I have a favorite one, and I'm curious to which they're all fabulous, but I'm curious to which your favorite one is and why. So they go to the boat. I love that he's having a problem on the water, right? And Barbie's totally unbothered. I do like the space one. It's not my favorite, but I think Barbie looks great perched on the end of the rocket ship there. And I like that their tableaus look like Ken and Barbie dates from like the classic doll setups, right? So there they are amongst the tulips in Holland. There's this one, you know, camping. This is actually my favorite because it looks most to me like the classic Barbie dolls. And they both look like they're having such a good time. This is like the only one where they're kind of both happy. And so I really like it. It's just, you know, not only is it a beautiful moment, but they're having a nice time together. I wonder how she's wearing these shoes if her feet are flat. All right, so anyway, and then this one's cute too, you know, on the snowmobile. So this summer, and then they go to the real world, and I think it's a funny choice that everyone's laughing at them because everybody loved the set photos so much. And so the real world did see Barbie and Ken and loved them, right? So I think it's weird that the movie takes the opposite approach. To me, it was very jarring. So I think it's funny that Barbie's like, why is everyone staring at me? And they're in Venice Beach, and Ken's like, everyone's staring at me too. Because of course, some people are attracted to Ken. So I love that. Now, I don't really know if it's fair that anybody would slap Barbie's butt like that. You know, this is supposed to be today, and I don't think anybody would do that, right? I mean, I'm sure there are some circumstances, obviously, where they would, but I don't know, I feel like that would be assault first. So I don't know, maybe why all three wouldn't be arrested. I think maybe realistically, ideally, there would just be warnings that would go all around. Although, of course, you know, police situations very touchy these days, and unfortunately, not always what should happen, much less an ideal situation. So Barbie punches him in the face, and they get arrested. And even the LAPD says he's just Ann Ken, and he's having a great time. You're going to find that Ken loves the real world because men are in charge. At least that's how he perceives it. So I totally missed the "If you love Barbie, this movie is for you" portion. I like this. Look at the plastic fire. That's so cute. And so this Barbie and Ken seem to be getting along very nicely. That's nice. Now this is obviously America Ferrera. She's playing, I don't want to ruin who her character is, but she spots Barbie immediately. She knows who that is. That's Barbie. But what is she doing in the real world? And Will Ferrell says, you know, we got to get Barbie back in the box, which of course, obviously, is not only literal, but a metaphor for putting women back in their box. So I think it's funny he's got drumsticks. I guess that's to focus his corporate mind. I like that they have a scene where they go and they get their Western duds, and because you can kind of see variations on the right there, and they pick out ones, of course, that they would like, and I love that Ken loves his fringe. Isn't that cute? But I guess they don't have any money, because there they go, and they got arrested. Maybe that's why they got arrested, come to think of it. That would make total sense if they shoplifted. And as I said, do they even have fingerprints? Maybe they'll be like B's and Ken's. So Ken's having a great time. I guess he feels there'll be no repercussions for him as a white man. That's pretty funny. All right, so they get arrested, and Will Ferrell's freaking out. And then if you hate Barbie, because to me, for some reason, this just registered more. I think I was so surprised. I was like, whoa, why are we even bringing it up? Don't acknowledge the hate. And then to see these girls be so mean to Barbie, I felt that in my soul. The way Margot Robbie reacted, because she clearly is like, hey, it's Barbie. Of course these girls will recognize me. I don't think those girls ever played with Barbie. But they said it's been so long, and I just felt, I don't know, you can't be nice to Barbie. I mean, she might not be in your present, but she was in your past. You can't be like, oh, hey, Barbie, what the heck are you doing here? So I felt very bad about this exchange. So I'm like, oh, I don't want to hate on Barbie. All right, so there's a high-speed car chase. I'm glad she put her seatbelt on. More partying. That, to me, this sequence is going to be fantastic. I think all the underlying LGBT aspects of Ken and Barbie, which has long been a part of the brand but not recognized, I think it's great that the movie's recognizing that. That looks fantastic. So Margot Robbie, Ryan Gosling, he's going to really do a great job with this movie. And I wonder who this is supposed to be, but I think it's just someone who has grown old. And she has a line where, you know, which is obviously something Barbie doesn't do. And she says, all humans have the same ending, but ideas live forever. And I'm like, don't want to talk about this, thank you very much. But ideas, of course, are very important. And Barbie is a big idea that has lasted for a very long time and had a tremendous amount of influence. So much so that, as I said, it came under attack at one point. And I think now it's never, and as I said, it never recovered and never understood what the idea should become. So I guess, that the movie kind of also is talking about a Barbie who's lost her way. So maybe Greta Gerwig can nail it down in a way that makes everybody happy, but I'm nervous about it. I kind of know the ending, but maybe it'll come together better than what I heard. So the Mattel obvious is, I can't believe Mattel's like, yep, that's our office, totally devoid of any compassion or life. So he's chasing Barbie, she's trying to escape. I think it's interesting they made the choice that all men work there, when in fact the CEO who totally changed Barbie over for the brand never recovered was a woman, and the person who invented Barbie was a woman. So it's weird to me, and a lot of people who worked on Barbie over the years were women, if you watch the toys that made us. Of course, men were also involved, but I don't know why you would say that it was all men, in a vilified sense, when that's not true. If you whether you like Barbie or not, women are responsible for all the different variations. The ones that succeeded, the ones that maybe haven't succeeded as much, and the ones that are beloved by everyone. All right. So that's in the Ideas Are Forever. And they're like, Barbie, get depressed. And you're like, what? This was a very funny ending. I like the ending where, Ken would like to do an appendectomy because he feels he's a man, he can do whatever he wants. And he says, there's great exchange about, I'd like to speak to a doctor. And she's like, I am a doctor. But of course he sees the classic lab coat given to Barbies. I mean, I guess Barbie, doesn't really focus on the scrubs for Dr. Barbie because, for better or worse, Barbie usually deals in stereotypes. And, now that most doctors will actually walk around in scrubs, maybe that's the way the Barbie should be reimagined. Although I'm sure someone will find a Barbie in scrubs and say, here it is, Grace. But Ken obviously hasn't seen that Barbie. But I'll be curious to see how people react to the Ken storyline. But as I've told you, Ken is the villain of this movie. Not to say he couldn't necessarily be redeemed, but I'll be curious what you think of it. Maybe, like real life, although I feel there are villains in real life, quite frankly. I don't think we should let people get away with that. All right, so based very loosely on Barbie Main Trailer. And so we'll see how people react to it. But I think you're already starting to see a bit of a divide. And I think it's important I want to experience the movie for myself and see how the message hits. Because once I see it as Greta Gerwig intends, it might go over quite well. Because as I said, I absolutely was blown away by Little Women. So that's my breakdown of the Barbie trailer. What are your thoughts? And what are your thoughts on Barbie, the evolution of Barbie? Share them down below, subscribe today, and of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.